small rebel force has penetrated the shield and landed on Endor.
This is where the fun begins.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
This is Rebel Force Radio.
Your source for the Force.
Star Wars news and commentary.
With Jason Swank and Jimmy Mack.
I've seen Star Wars 500 times.
Star Wars #1!
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe. I suggest we use it.
Now it's time for Rebel Force Radio.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Well. Welcome back to Rebel Force Radio. Good to be back with you all again. Got a great show this week. Big Cantina guest, one of our all-time favorites. We love having her on the show anytime she's available. And we got her, Ashley Eckstein, joining us. We have a long history with Ashley over the years. In our podcast adventures, we've intersected many, many times, going all the way back to 2008 and the very beginning of the Clone Wars adventures. When the film came out, we got to know Ashley and, of course, Matt Lanter and James Arnold Taylor and the whole Clone Wars crew. Some of the finest ambassadors there ever was to the world of Star Wars and this franchise we love so much. So it'll be great to catch up with Ashley, but in addition, we'll be checking out the latest news headlines. We've actually got, I think, Mia Goth's very first comments since being cast in Starfighter and that official announcement, plus listener feedback. We got several that are in the hopper that we're going to get to, so please stay tuned for all of that. You don't want to miss a single second of RFR this week. And by RFR, I mean if introductions are in order. Myself, my name is Jason, and with me, as always, my good friend and yours from Chicago, Jimmy Mack.
Hey, Jason. Hey, Star Wars fans. I'm back from the Mos Eisley Cantina construction, which took me probably 5 days to finally put that thing together. The Haslab Mos Eisley Cantina.
It's together.
Put it together. Yeah, in a very modular fashion on the shelves, you have to keep in mind. And I've come to the determination that sucker, no way is that thing worth the $450 they charge for it. I do. The buyer's remorse I'm experiencing is massive.
No. Wow.
Massive.
Not getting a good review from Jimmy Mack. I think that the price, because I'm seeing similar comments online. I still haven't opened mine yet. But it seems to be that it's like, it was almost like they came up with the price by charging per piece because there's so many little tiny pieces, but there's not a lot of there. The backdrops, the pieces are a little flimsy, and there's just not a lot of meat on the bone. That's what I'm hearing.
Well, the pieces, I mean, if they're charged by the pieces, they gave you like 100 little plastic tumblers for the characters to drink out of, which is excessive. And there were leftover parts that I can't explain.
Oh.
That they are not identified anywhere in the instructions. I can't see photos of them anywhere on the box. I don't know what to do with these things. I think they would have been more successful in just releasing the bar itself without all the alcoves and things like that. All the front, the entranceway is kind of cool and everything. But I would have just dropped, $150 on the bar itself and just called it a day. And they should have offered maybe a more simpler option to fans, but they had to go with this big deal. And I knew it didn't feel right when I ordered it, and it's on the shelves now.
Well, let's be honest.
Okay.
Did you, like a lot of people, myself included, didn't we really buy it for the figures? The opportunity to get those Tonica figures that it was such legend that we would never get them. And
that was a big draw.
That's the thing. Like when you're saying about let's just do like a $150 bar version of the Cantina, I'm all for that. Like give me less accessories and more figures. Like especially as we're getting into this era of putting out figures that they would never put out at mass retail because they fear they wouldn't sell. That's fine. In fact, I'm waiting for a Haslab where it's just a whole case of figures that they right. that they don't feel would work at retail. But I got to ask you, because you are also a buyer of the sail barge, the very first Star Wars Haslab. And I don't remember hearing much buyer's remorse after that. Was it a lot more substantial of an item in terms of what you actually got for the money? It was also a lot cheaper.
Yeah, it was more substantial. It was just, it really felt like the dream thing. The only part of the Cantina that really feels like a dream release to me is the bar itself. You know, the construction of that is so piss poor. The bar itself does not stay together. The connectors that they used to connect these, like the part of the bar that curves is in two parts. And that was a big, big mistake. You know, with this horseshoe-shaped bar, they have the part where it curves is in two parts. It doesn't stay together, and it doesn't connect to the straighter parts worth a damn. I've seen fans printing up their own 3D printed clips to keep the bar together.
See, I hate when you have to do fix-ups on something that costs that much money. Yeah. The fix-up.
And then you see the hookah sitting there on the bar.
Yeah.
They send it to you, and the tubes are not connected to the hookah. Good luck connecting those tubes to the hookah, because there's 4 of them, and no way do they all stay connected at once. It just doesn't work. They should have sent that to you completely constructed, but they make it this game so they can charge extra because the tubes are separate parts or something. Now, you're showing on the screen here some things here. The bar stools are kind of fun because it is fun to find the characters that do have the articulated knees, and you sit them around a table and stuff, and you give them some drinks, and it's fun. I mean, that part I did have fun with. But a lot of the pieces, it's too much, actually, at the end of the day. They give you more than you actually need. Oh, I see they have some Greeblies up on the wall. I don't think I connected those. But again, there's no instructions for, you know.
There are no instructions.
Well, there are instructions, but when you get to the little parts, you don't know what to do with them. And there is this one piece in particular. It's this long rod coming out of sort of a cylindrical type shape, and I have no idea what to do with it. It's big piece.
Jimmy Mac doesn't know what to do with his rod. If you know,
that's never
has any
before.
ideas, give him.
So I'm done. I'm just completely tapping out now. I am now completely tapping out.
You think I should just sell mine? You think I should just sell mine?
Well, I don't know. I mean, to each individual person, it's a different experience. I'm just sharing mine. I'm not saying
I know,
but my judgment,
like
my opinion is anything that is. Oh, I don't see you having the patience for this at all. I mean, that's all I'm saying. I had fun with it, though. I had some fun with it.
Yeah.
It's not like I didn't have fun.
You know what? The reason I bought this, there were 2 reasons I bought this. The first was, like I said, the figures, not being able to get those figures. I wanted a vintage collection wooer. I really wanted the Tonica sisters, but I have such regret of not buying the barge that I think I overcompensated for my insecurity and my bargelessness, and I bought the Cantina when I really want is the barge. So if anybody out there wants to trade their unopened barge for my unopened Cantina, I bet they won't take that deal. Hit me up. But I'm bummed to hear that.
I will say this, though. I am a collector, and I do have a lot of fun with the hobby. And the Cantina, you know, the whole construction of it, finding space for it, moving all of the Cantina figures I had into this new environment and everything. All of that was really a lot of fun. And I found myself spending more time with my collection than I have in recent memory. And as a result of having to find space for the Cantina, I've been having to move a lot of things around. And so that kind of promotes a lot of fresh energy and new life into my collection and everything. So it's not all of a bad thing, but I mean, it's just the price point. At the end of the day, with tax and shipping, the thing damn near cost me $500.
Yeah.
And there's no way in the scope of reality where this thing is worth half that. I mean, half. I would say it's worth If they sold it for $250, that's fine. $300, maybe. But the prices of everything are just spiraling out of control. Hasbro has announced that the 3 3/4-inch figures, which had an MSRP, an absurd MSRP of $16.99, $17. Let's stop being infantile and talking like idiots. It's $17 plus tax, bringing you closer to $18 per 3 3/4-inch figure. Well, they just jacked that price up to $20, which will then advance to $21 at least when you are dealing with tax and shipping. If you order online and stuff, it'll be even more per figure. So we're in a place now where we're getting close to $25 per 3 3/4-inch figure when you include tax and shipping. And for me, that's a tap out of the hobby 100%.
Wow.
Lucasfilm, Hasbro, F you, I'm out. And I've been collecting this stuff for damn near 50 years. It has to be a very specific character that I find I must have for my collection, but no more completist approaches to the hobby. Definitely always now waiting for things to go on clearance or on sale or end up at Ollie's or Five Below or those goofy places.
Ross.
But, no more of these knee-jerk purchases coming from me anymore. So, I think it's at the end of an industry, quite honestly, because I don't see many fans continuing.
Yeah, you're not alone with that sentiment at all. That was, it was one thing to when you thought, oh, well, maybe this is Target's price and this is Walmart's price. And here's, if I find a figure at Best Buy or GameStop, but just to know that, hey, MSRP on these things is $20. And as you said, if you're ordering them through the mail, which you have to, in most of the time, if you're in a market, I'm not in a major market. So I can't just walk into Target or Walmart and see the latest waves. I never see them in the wild. I'm still dealing with General Lando Black Series. Bless Lando's heart, but I'm dealing with old peg warmers, so I have to mail order.
It's just so frustrating because back in the day, they used to say, well, we can't make play sets for Star Wars action figures because it takes up too much retail shelf space. Nowadays, when you walk in, I went to Target the other day, and by the way, I never go to these big box stores in search of Star Wars anymore. I go there to buy, bulk foods and frozen pizza at a reasonable price. And then I make my way to the toy section, the rapidly shrinking toy section in places like Walmart and stuff. I was like, where did they move the toy aisle now? Oh, it's down there. Oh, okay. Oh, look, it says this aisle is Star Wars. That's all it says, Star Wars. On aisle number 29. I turn a left down that aisle. The last thing I see is Star Wars. There's no Star Wars. The pegs are empty. Yeah. What happened to this valuable shelf space? Well, what happened to it is Amazon.com. That's what happened to it. It gave it a swift smack upside the retail head. So brick and mortar is dead. Star Wars action figures 3 3/4-inch as a hobby is dead. And the Hasbro and action figures as an industry is dead. What are we going to do here? What's next? So I don't know. Secondary market, perhaps. Waiting for sales, maybe. It's Prime Days. Big deal.
Yeah, there really wasn't much. I looked. Hey, by the way, you mentioned people using 3D printers to sort of fashion these fix-ups for their Cantina. The 3D printing has gotten, it's really close, if it's not already there, where you could virtually create your own Cantina playset by just using 3D printing. When we were at the event at Rancho last month, I met a guy, Rebel Force radio listener. We had a great conversation about 3D printing, and I wrote his name down. And we're like, dude, we got to hook up because I really want to learn more about this. This is, I think, going to be my Christmas gift to myself this year. I really want to do this. And I walked off and I left my notes. Somehow my notes got thrown away. I put a post up at the official Rebel Force Radio Facebook group looking for this guy. Don't know who it is. But if you're listening, you know who you are. We exchanged personal information. And I'm ready. I think I'm ready to take the plunge here in the next month or so. So please reach out, show at rebelforceradio.com. Appreciate it. Sorry I lost your info.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you what. I mean, I'm not trying to pee in the pool or anything. I still love Star Wars. I still love collecting, and I love the hobby. I love 3 3/4 inch action figures, but it's just it's not feasible no more. Being a adult child is now, there's now a massive price to pay for that.
Yeah,
I never really felt that way.
Well, not back in the old days. I mean, when things were simpler, like when we were playing with, I don't know, Play-Doh?
Play-Doh, yes. Yes, I had that set too, as a matter of fact. And it had this is the original Star Wars Play-Doh action set from Kenner that Swank has got a photo up on our screen here. And it had this play mat, which you can't really see in this photo, which is a shame. But it was really cool. It was like the Death Star, and it had some wacky art on it. I always appreciated that vinyl play mat that they gave you for the Play-Doh. And yeah, for some reason they really downplay that in this Play-Doh photo that Swank's looking at. But yeah, I had this as a kid and recall like having a good time with it. And I was an older kid too. I was like 9 or 10 by that point, probably aged out of Playboy.
Well, there's a Freudian slip. I think you might have aged into Playboy. You exchanged your Play-Doh for Playboy.
Maybe I did.
And then you played with. No, I'll leave it at that. I won't say what you played with.
I took the play. Swank. Don't be talking about my lightsaber hilt in those kind of terms. But, and I thought, well, maybe it's like silly putty. And so I put it on the pages of the magazine, try to, make the photo connect to the thing, and that never worked. But so Play-Doh, this is something I've been talking about lately, basically in terms of where the F is the Star Wars Play-Doh? Where is it? Now, I listen, gang, I know that Play-Doh is still in production. And I also know that they have made some Star Wars play sets in recent memory. But there's no mainstream availability of the Play-Doh anymore. Back in the day, when you would buy the Kenner play sets like the Battle of Hoth or whatever they had, Land of the Jawas, you would get this little catalog, and in it would show you all the pictures of the Star Wars action figures you could get. But as you flip through the pages of the catalog, you'd see the play sets, the vehicles. Then you would get into weird things like electronic toys, or paint by number sets, or Play-Doh. And they treated it all as one big happy Star Wars family of toys for all kids. There was no segregation between the action figures and the Play-Doh and the color forms or whatever. And nowadays, you can't even get the word out about new Star Wars toys to kids because the back of the action figure cards are just top loaded with all of this legalese in 20 different languages. You have no opportunity to show off the toys to kids. He's kids are all online anyway. But you know what? That kind of thinking is really made Star Wars toys and collecting slip out of the mainstream. Things like Play-Doh have slipped out of the mainstream. And I think if you really want to attract younger viewers to something like The Mandalorian and Grogu, you want to hype it up as far as merchandise goes with a kick-ass Mandalorian and Grogu Play-Doh action set. And I demand it. So last week we were talking on the show about Play-Doh, yada, yada, where the F is the Play-Doh. And I threw out a challenge to a Rebel Force Radio listener. So let's rewind the tape from last week's show and hear what the actual challenge was. Where the F is the Play-Doh?
Well,
where is it?
A lot of
Dominic
people have heard you, Jim, and
yeah, I know.
It was all over the Facebook group. It was all over the Patreon. People talking about the Play-Doh. So don't be surprised at the next Rebel Force Radio live event. You're probably going to be inundated with Play-Doh.
Right.
Forget the tomatoes.
Well, it's non-toxic.
They're going to be throwing Play-Doh at you.
It's non-toxic. We could serve it up on like Triscuit crackers and stuff. And I bet Rich Brendel will eat a bunch of them. But okay, so let me rewind. I bet he will.
I think that explains a lot about Rich Brendel, actually.
All right, so there. I threw out the challenge to
Yeah.
Rich, and longtime listeners of the show. You know Rich. He's called in many times. He's joined us for live events. He's been tattooed to death on his back with artwork from one of Glenn Nelson's High Adventure album covers. Rich is diehard and hardcore.
Yeah, he's one of the OGs. He's definitely one of the OGs.
He's one of the OGs.
Yeah.
He's been with us since the earliest days of this podcast, and he's always a pleasure to hang with because he's kind of a loose cannon, you know? And then when you learn he's a psychotherapist, it takes things to a whole different level. So what did you know it? The Play-Doh Challenge, there was a response to the Play-Doh Challenge by Rich Brendel himself. Longtime loyal RFR listener Rich Brendel responded to our Play-Doh Challenge, and he did it before the show was even released. It was only the early bird on Patreon was out there. And before that could even cool off, Rich sent in a video of his response to the RFR Play-Doh Challenge.
As requested, your good friend Rich Brendel here. I got some Triscuits. I got some Play-Doh. This is actually a little bit of the glittery Play-Doh, so maybe it'll make it come out a little bit shiny. I got a little piece of Play-Doh.
Like a little piece. That's a big.
Got my
ball.
dog Winston there.
We got Winston's here. He's going to start feeding the dog, too.
Press it in nice and good.
Oh,
in the
Puts the
Triscuit.
Play-Doh on the Triscuit. On the Triscuit.
Cheers.
There it is. Cheers. And he just popped it right into his mouth.
Salty and nostalgic. Very tasty.
Salty and nostalgic. And then he turns the camera off right away because he's going to hurl. He's going to blow chunks.
Oh, my God.
So Rich ate it. Rich did
yes,
it.
he
He put
did.
it on a Triscuit. I am a little offended by something, though, in this video. I'm a little offended. I'm a little offended that he opted to use Triscuit Thin Crisps as opposed to a full, wholehearted Triscuit cracker, you know? I mean, if you're going to do it, you got to do it.
Well, see.
It almost seems like Rich was going out of his way to promote the flavor of the Play-Doh itself.
Well, that's what I'm thinking.
He didn't want to mask it with any kind of Triscuit cracker taste, but it's just the fact that he did it, man. And I believe it too. You know, he held up the can of Play-Doh to the camera and he scooped out a bunch of it, rolled it into a ball that was probably, an 1.5 inches in diameter, and he smushed it on that Triscuit Thin Crisp and popped that sucker right in his mouth. You guys heard him chewing it.
Yeah, while his
It's
dog
the
watched.
real deal. While his dog was watching, a little pug dog of his was watching. I think it's a pug. I couldn't see. But he's watching him, Rich, eating the Play-Doh on a cracker. And this is something that it confirms something to me in the year 2025, which I've known for decades now. Decades. Is that if you suggest somebody eat something and you have a microphone, that person is going to eat that thing, no matter what. I mean, I've seen this thing play out time and time again over the course of the last 3 decades. If you have a microphone and you suggest somebody eat something that really shouldn't be eaten, that person's going to eat it. I'm telling you.
But you rarely get to pick which person it is. Rich is just very special. We were able to focus all of that energy onto Rich, but generally it's kind of a crapshoot. But you're right. You know someone's going to.
So now when I ask where the F is the Play-Doh, I know it's like in Rich's intestines than toilet. And that does not make me feel very good. So I don't know if I'm going to be asking.
It's floating right now, I can tell you.
I hope he didn't get like bunched up from it,
Well, hopefully he let it go at 1. But he turned the camera off, and you thought maybe it was because he was going to go hurl. I think he was going to go pop another 7 or 8 of them down.
Yeah.
And
he's going to binge Play-Doh on Triscuits. Play-Doh Triscuits.
Yeah.
Yeah. Typically, I don't ask people to do things I'm not willing to do myself. but I'll just have my Triscuit cracker plain.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Well, I'm almost afraid to look into listener mail after that, but let's see what's lurking in the bin this week.
Yeah, we got a follow-up.
Must contact me.
Play back the entire message.
What message?
Message, Doctor, the message.
The Emperor commands you to make contact with him. It's a trick. Send no reply.
Chet, guys. This is Adam from Seattle, calling back as requested. You guys made some really good points, as always, or I wouldn't have listened for years. I do agree that,
All right, we should probably stop it for a second because this requires a bit of a setup, I think.
All right.
Their weaponry.
I just want to, I hate to interrupt you, Adam, but I just wanted to tell people, maybe you didn't listen to last week's show, but Adam called up and he suggested that it was laziness on, maybe I shouldn't put words into his mouth, but he was dissatisfied with the Mandalorian and Grogu trailer because it featured the Razor Crest, and it featured Mandalorian's rifle from the, what do you call it, the Disruptor rifle or whatever, from season 1. And we know that stuff was all destroyed in season 2 when Moff Gideon blasted the Razor Crest to ashes from his Imperial cruiser. So now we're seeing the Razor Crest back in action for the Mandalorian and Grogu film. We have no idea how he reacquired these items, or I should, reacquired. They're obviously not the same, but he has a new Razor Crest. He has a new rifle. And these are items in which he was heavily attached to in the first season and a half of the Mandalorian show. So Adam's calling it out, saying, I don't know. This doesn't feel right to me. That was the essence of his call last week. So now he's calling back this week for a follow-up. And he heard our response, and now let's hear what he has to say.
Chet, guys. This is Adam from Seattle, calling back as requested. You guys made some really good points. As always, or I wouldn't have listened for years. I do agree that, certain characters are iconic with their weaponry, like, Chewie as a bowcaster and so on and so forth. And it goes far beyond Star Wars too, obviously. Worf has his Batleth, and I don't know, Arthur has Excalibur, Frodo has Sting, and so on and so forth. So I get that, the character's image is almost tied sometimes to their, weapon of choice, and I 100% agree with that. One thing that still kind of nips me though is about the ship, seeing the new Razor Crest fly by. I could be wrong, could be super cool, but it kind of cheapens that moment where, a WTF moment where it just boom and it gets destroyed and you're like, suddenly, it's okay, he'll get a new one. Kind of like when you are watching the end of Return of the Jedi and, Vader sacrifices his life for his son and throws the Emperor down the thing, and, incredible, emotional. And now, years later, you got Spirit Anakin wandering around like, what do you mean he survived? Like, what do you mean? They gave up everything for, so that part of it, I don't know. I'll reserve judgment till the movie comes out. Obviously, I'm sure they'll figure out some way to explain it, but that part of it just seems kind of like kind of a Palpatine return kind of moment. But anyway, you guys are amazing. You're great. Keep up the good work. Let's discuss.
All right. Well, I wouldn't necessarily put a first of all, it's not the same ship. We went shot by shot, scene by scene of the trailer. There's obvious differences. So it's not somehow the Razor Crest has returned. We know in the Star Wars universe that for the most part, these ships are like automobiles or aircraft. They are made en masse, and there's customizations that happen again, just like in our own universe with our automobiles and things like that. So it's not unusual to me to think that a character in Star Wars might have a preference for a certain type of ship in the same way that some people might say, well, I like Mustangs, or, I like Lambos, whatever it is. So I think this was an issue when we were under the impression that this was just going to be the Razor Crest again, or that it was going to look exactly like it. But I feel better seeing that it's a different enough ship. Just like, him having the N1 Starfighter doesn't diminish the impact of the Razor Crest, because it's a different ship, and this is a different ship. So and then I wouldn't necessarily equate something like a ship to the sacrifice of a character or the resurrection of a character. To paraphrase William Shatner, it's just a ship. It's just a ship.
Damn it, Jim. I'll tell you what, man, you're right on with that. I mean, it's apples and oranges when you're talking about a character reacquiring a starship as opposed to the return of a character we thought was long gone and dead, 6 feet under. X-eyes, the little birds flying around the head of, it's dead, like like that Tom and Jerry cartoon. He falls down the stairs, he dies. You see the ghost of Tom come out and go up the escalator to heaven. That's what we saw with Palpatine. The Razor Crest is a thing and is easily replaceable, and it's much like in the tradition of Star Wars. Luke Skywalker loses his lightsaber at the end of Empire Strikes Back, but in Return of the Jedi, he's swinging around that green-bladed saber, and it's left to the audience to just assume, well, Luke just built a new one or found a new one or whatever. It's never explained in the film. Yes, it's explained in a novelization. Yes, it's explained in some deleted scenes that ended up on a Blu-ray release, 30 years after the fact. But bottom line is, audiences in 1983 didn't know how Luke got this green-bladed saber and really didn't care, because we assumed he just acquired a new one or rebuilt a new one. And I'm assuming the same with this Return of the Razor Crest. In season 1 of The Mandalorian, we saw Jawas tear it apart and Din eventually put it all back together again. So maybe he fully reconstructed a new Razor Crest out of spare parts or something. We don't know. Maybe that'll be explained in the film. But I think the big thing we're overlooking here with Adam, and I think Adam is overlooking it when he responded via this voicemail. The weapons of a Mandalorian are their religion, and that would motivate the character to replace these weapons that are intrinsic to his faith. The first thing he's going to want to do is get the opportunity to bring that stuff back, make himself spiritually whole again. I know it's hard to understand how anybody could treat a weapon in a religious fashion and apply faith to it, but that's what the Mandalorians do. And it's been proven time and time again through dialogue in previous seasons of The Mandalorian. So I don't have any problem with the return of a Razor Crest. It almost seems like the natural progression for the character to take. So I am totally down with it, Adam. I'm glad that you called back and sort of explained to us where your head's at after we responded last week. But I think you're overlooking that hugely important factor in the story itself is the weapons are part of the Mandalorian faith, and to make Din Djarin whole again, he is going to replace them. So that's what I think's going on here with the Mandalorian and Grogu film.
Hey, this is Dave Filoni of Star Wars The Clone Wars, and you are listening to Rebel Force Radio with Jason and Jimmy.
One of the greatest things about Ashley, she embodies it. On screen, off screen, when you meet her, have you ever met her and found her in a bad mood? Never.
Never.
She always has a smile for everybody. Yeah. She is tough, and I'll say it again, of all decisions I made, she was the best. So proud of her. So proud.
Hey there, this is Ashley Eckstein, voice of Ahsoka Tano from Star Wars The Clone Wars, and you're listening to Rebel Force Radio.
I have good news for you, my lord.
That's good news. Come closer, I have good news.
Well, we definitely love it when the stars of Star Wars get asked at various events and things about their roles in Star Wars, especially when they've just been announced. And that's the case of Mia Goth, who has just officially been announced in the recent weeks as being a part of the cast of Star Wars Starfighter. No official confirmation on the character's name, motivations, etc. There's a lot of speculation. We've speculated quite a bit about it here on RFR, but Jim, once you get announced as being in a Star Wars film, there's no escaping the press and the questions that they're going to be asking and hounding you.
Oh, that's so true. That is so true. And Entertainment Tonight caught up with Mia Goth at the premiere of the Frankenstein film. She's part of that. You know, Oscar Isaac is in it.
Yeah,
Star
that's
Wars
right.
alum,
Yeah.
Poe Dameron. And Lars Mikkelsen also plays a role in that film. And Mia Goth is playing the wife of Frankenstein's brother. So, you know, you have Victor von Frankenstein, and then you have his brother William. So, I mean, eventually, I believe it does happen in this film even. She will advance to the role of Bride of Frankenstein because Victor von Frankenstein was lusting after his brother's wife.
Ooh.
Spoiler alert.
Salacious.
Okay. It's like a book from like the 1800s, and I'm spoiler alerting it. But so E.T. caught up with Mia at the premiere for Frankenstein. They had the big, you know, red carpet whoop-de-doo in Hollywood. And when I say she spoke briefly about joining the cast of Star Wars Starfighter, I'm not kidding around. But there are things we should look at here because most notably she will be let's just take a look at the video first, and then I'll point out all the notables that happen in this 9-second back and forth. that, by the way, Entertainment Tonight is promoting like it's the biggest Star Wars scoop of the century. It's 9 seconds, and Mia talks for about 5 of the 9 seconds. Check it out.
Talk to me about how you're feeling about joining the iconic Star Wars franchise with Starfighter.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I've met everyone. They're all so lovely.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm very excited.
All right, let's break it all
She's
down.
excited.
She laid a lot on us, and so
let's pick it apart.
All right, so Jimmy Mack, what say you? What can we learn from this?
All right, well, number one, she will be joining the cast of Star Wars Starfighter soon. She obviously, and this is part of the, you know, the contract negotiations that any actress or actor goes through with the film studio is you have to determine when you're actually going to show up on the set. And that might be several weeks or months even after principal photography has begun, depending on how meaty your role actually is. So we know principal photography started several weeks ago for the main stars of Star Wars Starfighter, guys like Ryan Gosling, guys like Flynn Gray. They're on the set. They're shooting scenes. Mia Goth, meanwhile, is still in California doing publicity for the Frankenstein movie. So she obviously knew that she had that commitment, and so they pushed her shooting schedule back further in the principal photography window. So she hasn't been out there yet. She hasn't been shooting with guys like Ryan Gosling yet, but that's coming soon, or Amy Adams or any of them. That's coming soon. The things that I look for here is like her appearance. Obviously, she's cultivating the look that she will have on screen in Star Wars Starfighter. And so she has bangs that are parted in the middle, long bangs too, that are parted in the middle, and just a sort of a straight hairstyle that goes right back with her ears being visible. I think this is all going to be part of the look unless they put her in heavy prosthetics, like, say, Twi'lek tails for like a Darth Talon type character, which we speculated maybe she might be. I don't know. You know, I think we're just like, reaching for straws right now, trying to get a breath of oxygen. But That's what I'm looking at here. I assume she's going to be due on the set any day now in the next few weeks. Once this Frankenstein fervor settles down, she's done the talk show circuit. She's done the red carpet. She's done the media junkets. Bam, get her on a plane out there into the ocean or wherever they're shooting Star Wars Starfighter. She, does reveal, she says in her comments, she makes it very clear she hasn't begun shooting yet. So that's how I can draw all of these assumptions. But I know it's right around the corner for her. So I think the look that she's cultivating might come into play as far as her character goes, unless, of course, she's in heavy makeup when all of this speculation goes right out the window. So it's notable for being her first comments, public comments about Star Wars Starfighter, as you said at the top of the show. Do you have any insight you want to throw on us, Jason?
The only thing I would posit is that when she was announced as being when she was rumored first, of course, here at RFR, wasn't familiar with her, so I dove in, did a little bit of research, and really looked at some photos, picked some photos to show here on the video of the program. And I feel that this is a look that she's had for a while. This is a consistent Mia Goth look. And it could be because she'd been working on the Frankenstein movie. And you could probably picture a woman of Victorian era having the long hair. She probably wears it up in a bun. She's going to have to get it all tied up if she's going to become the bride, whatever. So my thought is that, we can assume, given how close, she is to likely principal photography, that she's either going to have this look or she's going to be in, like you mentioned, prosthetics, something that where her hair really wouldn't come into play. Because I think we remember Ewan McGregor sporting that buzz cut even before right before he started filming Star Wars. There was some early photos of him in that short hair, even before he got on set. And they shaved his head when he was doing some wardrobe fittings, I believe, if you watch some of those old documentaries attached to the episode 1 DVDs and things like that. So who knows? It's certainly fun to speculate. And she does seem enthusiastic. She did have that look. Did you notice? Let's see if I can run this back. As soon as she realizes what he's asking her, look at the eyes. Look at it. Look at the eyes get real big right there. She's like, he's asking. She's like, oh, what's he going to ask me? Star Wars. She's trying to remember her PR training she got from.
She's probably barely into that PR training as well.
Right,
she hasn't even been on the set yet. So, but you're right,
Jason.
Have
full show video, folks, because you got to see this. We were zooming in on her eyes when the reporter said Star Wars.
She does have a consistent look. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you're right on with that. So maybe her character is going to be placed in some heavy makeup. I've seen other photos of her from other productions. She is something of a chameleon. She has the ability to take on all sort of different appearances. So I'm very curious to see what she's going to be like in this film. I'm actually curious to see her in the Frankenstein film. That sounds kind of interesting to me.
Yeah.
I've heard some decent buzz about it. Yeah. And it's Guillermo del Toro, for crying out loud.
Right.
One of the greatest directors of our era. So that's Mia Goth. I mean, she seems like cool as hell, man. She seems really cool. So I'm happy to see she's going to be a fixture in Star Wars Starfighter. That's going to be great. Somebody else who was in a small role in Star Wars in the prequels, and she went on to having a pretty damn good career, is Rose Byrne. And Rose Byrne is like Rose Byrne. Some fans are like, Rose Byrne? Who's Rose Byrne? Attack of the Clones? I don't know Rose Byrne. Well, she doesn't exactly go on the convention circuit too often. But Rose Byrne played handmaiden Dorme for Padme's handmaiden, and she was in one scene with dialogue in Attack of the Clones. I think we have a clip of that, Jason.
Take good care of Dorme. The threat's on you two now.
He'll be safe with me.
Wow.
He'll be fine.
It's not me, my lady. I worry about you.
What if they realize you've left the capital?
How'd she get that tear to roll down at that
she's a great actor.
time?
And
I
she
was
kinda-
always
you
amazed
see-
by that.
You see, she kind of clinches her jaw too when that happens, and you see some like tension in her temples and stuff. She's just a good actress.
Yeah,
and she's in some series with Seth Rogen now that the folks
Platonic?
upstairs are really into. Is that what it is?
I think it's called like Platonic. Yeah, yeah. Okay. All right. Yep. I'm with it now.
I believe that's true. I'm just judging the scuttlebutt coming from upstairs from the folks who stream everything under the cloud. You know, I watch Star Wars. That's what I watch. You know, every once in a while I'll get that too from them. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So, what did you think of Wednesday? What? Well, it's like middle of the week. What do you want from me? No. The show Wednesday. What did you think? I didn't watch Wednesday. And then I always get the response. Is that all you watch is Star Wars? I say, well, no. I watch Clone Wars. Okay, so Rose Byrne.
You'll spin a Bond flick every once in a while, too. You're a fan.
Yeah, I'll slip one of those in, you know.
Yeah.
When the new Spinal Tap movie starts streaming, I guess I'll watch that. You know, what do you want from me? So, but it's been 20 years since Rose Byrne first appeared in Star Wars. And that was the only time she ever appeared in Star Wars was as Dorme. I remember that she had some clout, some career clout by the time Attack of the Clones was released, because I remember she was at the red carpet and I was watching one of those MTV Attack of the Clones red carpet specials and stuff. And I recall them stopping Natalie Portman to talk her up. And Natalie said something about Rose Byrne. She's in the movie too. You should talk to Rose. Her career's taken off. And the people there were just like, Natalie Portman and Rose, who we've never heard of before, but Natalie knew that Rose was on a fast track to having her own career of substance, going all the way back to 2002. And now here we are in 2005, and she's out promoting stuff on the Happy, Sad, Confused podcast with Josh Horowitz, who is a Star Wars superfan, a nerd to the core, and somebody who works within mainstream Hollywood entertainment media. He's like our inside guy, because he'll always take the opportunity to throw in a Star Wars question to anybody he's interviewing. And I guarantee you, nobody at this junket was asking Rose Byrne about Star Wars, except for Josh Horowitz. So we appreciate his service as always, Josh. Someday I'll get the cojones to ask Josh to appear on RFR, because we've been talking about him in his interviews for, 15 years now, 10 years at least. But so Rose appeared on Happy, Sad, Confused, and she did talk about her experience in Star Wars and Attack of the Clones.
Contractually obligated as a big old nerd to ask you about Star Wars. I apologize, Rose.
Are you of the Star Wars culture, the cult?
So I feel like you're the only Star Wars character that probably doesn't have an action figure at this point.
It's a tragedy.
Justice for Dorme, right? Let's start the hashtag today.
I mean, to be even a microscopic piece of that universe is so sweet how you just resonate and you still are part of this dialogue, this like chain of characters in this film, this universe that resonates with people. It's so wonderful. I've grown to love it. I mean, I worked with the great James Earl Jones, and he, oh my goodness, the people who
on stage with him.
Yes, we did a play together, and the people who would appear out of the woodwork to get his autograph and photo and so on and so forth. But yes, I had a small part as Natalie Portman's handmaiden, Dorme. I had about 1 or 2 lines.
You had 2 lines. I was going to ask you, which do you remember stressing about more? Was it, I'm worried about you, the situation is dangerous?
Yes.
Or, my lady, you're still in danger here?
There's
a lot
I think the first one. The first one I feel was more
There's a lot going on there.
resonant.
I'm worried about you, the situation is dangerous.
Yes.
It's a fraught situation.
It's a fraught situation. I'm establishing there's a situation, and it's fraught. And my feelings about it. And her feelings about it, rather.
Right.
Yes.
I do think, Joel Edgerton came back after
Oh,
those years,
yeah.
so you could
yeah.
still come back.
I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. No one's called. Maybe after this,
I'm just
they
trying to
will.
get you some work.
Yes, I appreciate it.
Yes.
You know,
what did Josh say? Hashtag justice for Dorme.
Justice for Dorme.
We might have to run with that a little bit.
She looks like she's really just sitting around waiting for that phone to ring for involvement in a future Star Wars project. But wasn't there a Marvel story where Vader hunted down one of Padme's old handmaidens?
Oh, yes. It was not her.
It wasn't Dorme. Was it Corday?
No, it wasn't Dorme. It wasn't Corday.
Oh, no, Corday got killed at the beginning of Attack of the Clones.
Right. Yeah, The handmaidens were getting picked off one by one.
Yes.
But no, it was... God, it wasn't Ayerte. It wasn't Sasha. It wasn't Dorme. It was...
Well, maybe in a film
I don't remember
universe.
which one it was. But I'll tell you what, I'll tell you this. Marvel spent about 2.5 years on that storyline, and it was really disappointing and didn't quite go anywhere. It was just disappointing, man. It just got so driven into the ground. Right now, I think the Marvel comics are on the upswing. So much so, I've even been reading the Dr. Aphra line, which is a title I have largely dismissed as lightweight and fluffy and lame. But you put Luke Skywalker in the pages of any comic book, I'll read it. And I have been reading the Dr. Aphra reboot. It seems a little bit more in line with traditional Star Wars storytelling, as I believe a lot of the new Marvel comics. They're establishing a new era post Return of the Jedi, which is the meatiest, sexiest era to dive into if you want to expand on the stories of the original trilogy. Go, the day after the Death Star 2 explodes, dive right in. And they seem to be doing an okay job with it. I don't think the sales numbers reflect that at all. Star Wars comic book sales, which were a no-brainer. It was a done deal. The second they were released, it would be a success. Nowadays, these books aren't even breaking the top 100 anymore. So I'm a little nervous about the future of Star Wars comic books. But as long as the Disney Corporation continues to own Marvel Comics and Star Wars, I assume they'll be utilizing the comic book medium to tell those stories. But the sales figures have been bleak.
Yeah.
With Star Wars comic books lately. I think comic books overall have been kind of
there's going to be a massive realignment across all of the traditional media platforms. I mean, we're seeing it, but it's going to continue. And
dude, I work in radio. You think I don't know this? They were telling me. I read 20 years ago. I read in a newspaper that radio was going extinct. Well, I'll tell you this. More people are listening to radio in the year 2025, 20 years later, than they are reading newspapers. This I know. This I know.
Well, that's
because more people are listening to podcasts than both mediums combined.
Yeah. Well, radio has the advantage of being free. Comic books are not free.
Hey there, this is Ashley Eckstein, and this is Rebel Force Radio, your source for the Force.
Where are you going, Master?
For a drink. Sorry about the mess. You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy. We must be cautious.
All right, as promised at the top of the show, we've got her right here in the cantina joining us, the one, the only, Ashley Eckstein. Ashley, thank you so much for being here with us on RFR.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me back on. I've missed you guys.
I know, it's been way too long.
We were watching you on videos coming back from Star Wars Celebration Japan and things like that. And it was, we just felt weird that you were so far away, but felt so close to us. As you were crying on stage because Ahsoka Brickhead was going to be making her debut. And that was really cool. We really did enjoy. Oh, you have an Ahsoka
Look at
Brickhead.
it. She's got it right here. We've got
That's the real deal.
Brickhead Ahsoka. Yeah. So
It's
this Lego model existed before Rebuild the Galaxy Pieces of the Past, but this sort of canonizes the character, the brickhead version of the character in the Lego universe, right?
Yes. So it definitely caught everyone by surprise. Everyone was expecting a minifig, and leave it to Ahsoka to be different, to burst onto the scene as a brickheads. And, it definitely takes a second to be like, ooh, okay, she looks different. But once you listen to her and then you go on this journey with her in this four-part series, it's the same Ahsoka. It's her same heart. It's her same spirit, her same light, her same soul.
Right.
So she's a lot of fun in this
Well,
special.
if I may, as soon as she opens her mouth and starts to talk, yeah, it's Ahsoka again. I mean, there's no mistake about it. So as wonderful as all of the different incarnations are, Ashley, whether it be in comic books or novels or live action television, there's one original Ahsoka, and it's Ashley Eckstein. You don't have to say it. We'll say it right here.
Yes. But it's like almost jarring. It's kind of jarring in a way, though, too, because Ahsoka was always this little petite sidekick of Anakin Skywalker's, and now she's this big kind of... I got to be very delicate in the terms I choose to describe
Lego
Ahsoka. It's Ahsoka blockhead, and using words like monstrosity would probably be kind of inappropriate.
She's a brick house. Can we say that? That's not inappropriate, is it?
She's a brick house. Yeah, maybe. Maybe. But I mean, does that take some getting used to have to refer to yourself professionally as a blockhead or a brickhead, or what is it called? A brickhead, right?
Let's be real. I am a OG New Kids on the Block fan, and they call themselves blockheads.
Blockhead.
So yes. So you could argue that I was already a blockhead, but now I'm a brickheads.
So who's your favorite new kid? Which one is the one that you connect with the most?
It's always been Joey McIntyre. That was my favorite.
The young one. Yeah.
The young one.
I think he was called the cute one. There was like the bad boy, and then there was the tough guy, and there was a cute one. It's always the cute one. He's the Paul McCartney. Was it Paul the cute one?
Your knowledge of New Kids on the Block is impressive. Most impressive.
It is. Most impressive.
But I mean, I've always been into the good guys. I was always more of a Luke, not a Han girl. So
interesting.
So yeah, of course, it checks that I would be into Joey.
But Ashley, whereas we're talking about the differences in the characters, Ahsoka now is everywhere, absolutely everywhere. But there's the brickhead Ahsoka, and in all seriousness, with the tone that Lego has established over the years in Star Wars, did you approach the character and the voice and all of that differently, or was it just like putting that comfy shirt back on and you were right there?
No, it was definitely the latter. It was definitely like, I actually like to say it's I stepped back into Ahsoka's boots. It's like, we all have that pair of shoes or those boots that we've, already broken in. They've molded to our feet. We've walked miles in them. And that's what it feels like to voice Ahsoka again. Is, it may take a step or two, or a take or two to slip into it. But honestly, after a couple of sentences, then I'm just like, it just feels right at home. I talked to Dan and Benji about this, the writers and the showrunners. And, I was so impressed how it, like, they captured Ahsoka's spirit, how right away I felt comfortable. And they said that was actually one of the notes. You know, they worked with Leland Chi, you know, our holocron keeper.
Oh, yeah.
And,
yeah, sure.
And Leland, you know, he said it was important that they capture the spirit and the essence of these characters, and specifically Ahsoka. And, you know, I really felt that they did that. So I didn't have to approach it any differently. I just, you know, approached it as though it was an extension of season 7 of the Clone Wars.
Season 7 of the Clone Wars. Because I draw a distinct line between the two Ahsokas when I'm talking about Ahsoka from the Clone Wars and Ahsoka from Rebels. I draw a distinct line between the two because I think there's a vast difference in how they just approach anything and everything. What do you think the biggest differences are between Clone Wars Ahsoka and Star Wars Rebels era Ahsoka?
Well, you know, you're right on. There is a big difference. You know, Clone Wars Ahsoka, she is the Padawan. She's, you know, she snips. She, you know, is inquisitive. She's curious. She's constantly questioning everything. She's like a little sponge that's just soaking it all in and trying to learn as much as possible. And then by the end, you know, she is hardened a bit, you know, after walking away from the Jedi Order. But the thing with Ahsoka, and this is where the crossover is with Rebels, there's always that warmth there. Despite the devastation and despite the sadness, there's always hope, and there's always light, and there's always kindness, and there's always a softness to her. So whereas, you know, in Clone Wars, she's a bit more, like I said, curious and inquisitive and, you know, snippy. Rebels Ahsoka is more like Obi-Wan. You know, she's more of the master, the teacher. She's more reserved. She keeps things, you know, inside. You know, closer to the chest, as they would say, or closer to the vest. Is it closer to the chest or closer to the vest?
Either way,
Ooh.
but vest is preferred.
Yes. Okay.
Vest
closer
is
to
preferred or
vest.
chest?
Mm-hmm. Vest. Yeah, it comes from the Old West when you would keep your cards close to your vest. You would wear a vest in the Old West.
But underneath your vest is your chest. So
that's true. So that's why I'm saying, you know, I'll accept either.
Okay.
I've always heard both.
Ash.
And I've always heard both, and I always wonder that. So I'm glad we settled that here. We're settling so much.
We are. We've learned a lot today.
We've already learned a lot. We're just getting started. So anyways, there is a big difference between the two. You know, in Clone Wars, she's more like Anakin. In Rebels, I would say she's more like Obi-Wan. For me personally, I love Clone Wars Ahsoka. You know, she's most like my own personality. I would say life imitates art. I did become more like Rebels Ahsoka in real life, but I love both. But Clone Wars Ahsoka is definitely naturally my personality and more of who I am.
When you say you are more like Rebels Ahsoka in real life, can you tell us how you came to that realization?
So I was cast as Clone Wars Ahsoka to just be myself, to bring my own personality to Ahsoka, bring my own voice, humor, personality. You know, Dave Filoni didn't know what he wanted for Ahsoka, and when I was in my audition, he just said, "Oh, I want that." You know, just be you. Bring Eisley to Ahsoka. So, you know, Ahsoka, especially in Clone Wars, is very much just me. You know, tables turned as it went on because I just fell in love with Ahsoka, as we all did, and I wanted to be more like her. You know, I'm like, wow, I what would Ahsoka do? I want to be like Ahsoka. Well, the reason I say I became more like Rebels Ahsoka is truly for the same way, Ahsoka becomes who she is in Rebels, and that's experience. Experience, wisdom, and good and bad. I would say there was, I've been, like we all have, I've been through ups and downs and devastating times, sad times, great times, and all of those experiences, I feel like gained me and earned me wisdom, and I wouldn't trade that for anything. It's it's like when Ahsoka says to Captain Rex in the beginning, she's like, "So if you're a captain and I'm a Jedi, then technically I outrank you, right?" And he says, "Well, in my book, experience outranks everything." And having the chance to grow up with Ahsoka and creating her universe alongside of it, and knowing nothing about business, really being thrown into this global fandom, I gained experience. and with that, I feel like I became more like Rebels Ahsoka.
That's something I don't think that we've ever really talked to you about is I think you're probably one of the best examples of someone who has been able to take all the energy surrounding a fandom like Star Wars and surrounding you and your character and channel it in ways and almost like wield it yourself. It's like you absorbed it all and then you were able to use it and use it for a lot of good. Was there a moment when you really sort of found your footing as this avalanche of new notoriety and fame and whatnot was coming at you where you're like, okay, I can either let this blow me over or I can take control of it and make it work for me?
Well, I forget who told me this. But really early on, someone told me, they said, Star Wars is not going to make you famous. But Star Wars is going to give you a platform to do whatever you want with it and to open up new doors. And I took that very seriously, and not from the standpoint of a selfish standpoint, because I think you guys know I've always been a Star Wars fan. Now, I'm a much bigger fan now than I was in the beginning, but I've always been a fan. But I very, very, very quickly realized, right away in 2008, that the Star Wars fandom was unlike anything that I had ever known. And especially as the two of you realize, because you have also been paving the way for this fan base from the beginning. Being a Star Wars fan is literally part of you. It is your lifestyle. It is who you are in your soul. It's not just this trend that you're just like, hey, I'm into this thing right now. It is.
Yeah. Next year, Mac and I will be podcasting about something else.
Oh yeah, sure.
No. I mean, exactly. The two of you are perfect examples. It is part of you, and right. So I realize that, and it's part of me too, and so. I very, very quickly realized that this was a responsibility. And I feel like I felt like I won the lottery. And, I constantly ask myself, well, why me? In many ways, I was just in the right place at the right time. But because I was in the right place in the right time, and because I was chosen, I've always viewed it as such a responsibility to be a beacon that carries this light, this hope forward for generations to come. And so I because I've taken that so seriously, I don't know. It's a combination of me naturally being a positive person. I will say that. But also, I think once I really discovered the responsibility that I was now one of the people that was so privileged to carry the torch forward in this franchise. I didn't care what people said. I knew that Ahsoka was amazing. I knew that I loved her. And I knew that if people just gave her the chance, they would love her too. And so I, as you both know, I just begged fans for their patience from the very beginning.
Did.
Yes, I did. I did. I mean,
yeah, you did. I just remember because it seemed rather bold, and you also had this advantage that us fans didn't have, is that you were able to see into the future because you had already had your eyes on scripts that we weren't going to see for another year to year and a half, and you understood the development of the character. It was really just very much proving very early on that you really had your finger on the pulse of fandom, because you understood that there was some backlash to this little smarty smart coming on the scene all of a sudden and putting down someone like Anakin Skywalker, calling him Sky Guy and the R2E and, you know, all of that. It seemed like Ahsoka was definitely kicking down some doors. And I don't know if the fan base was really prepared for that when she debuted, but the kids sure were. The kids were so attracted to Ahsoka, and I know this for a fact because I had two boys in my house who adored Ahsoka, especially my youngest son. And so I saw the potential there through their eyes and was willing to tolerate what you might call more, again, very carefully trying to choose my words here as I'm sitting across the table from the great Ahsoka Tano herself. But there was a little bit of getting used to Ahsoka's vibe at first for some fans. I don't think I would qualify myself as that, but you picked up on that, and you knew right away that was something that was going on, and you treated it like it was a natural thing. You never shamed anybody. You never put anybody down. You just said, be patient, because you're going to start to see the word you would always use is growth. You're going to see this character grow, and it's going to be a really cool process to watch. So did it surprise you when it all actually paid off and you were like, oh, thank God I was right?
I you know, oh gosh, it's so funny because the moments that I really saw how much Ahsoka had truly impacted people and changed their life were actually during times of great sadness. And you know, I've talked about this some, but you know, when I first realized how much Ahsoka meant to people, and how she had truly transcended the screen, was after Clone Wars was canceled, after season 5, and she walked away from the Jedi Order. None of us saw that coming. Like, you know, we were well into making season 6, and you know, that was never meant to be the end of the series. And you know, I think the fact that it ended with her walking away kind of catapulted her into people's hearts even more, because you almost like take things for granted, and then, you know, you don't realize what you have until it's gone, and all of a sudden it's gone. Clone Wars is gone. Ahsoka's gone. We don't know what happened to her. And so it was after that fans, I mean, their stories started coming out of the woodworks, and I was meeting fans, you know, at conventions and getting messages from fans all over the world about how not only did she change their life, but she literally saved their life. And I hadn't yet heard stories like that. So and that was a time of great sadness. Like, you know, I've talked with you both about this before. I mean, we were devastated when Clone Wars ended. And, you know, I'd been on big shows before that got canceled, I honestly thought, like, okay, is this it? Is it going to just go away? I mean, yes, Disney had bought Star Wars, but the first thing Disney did was cancel us. So
Yeah,
it's like,
right.
Are we going to be gone? Like, are they just going to forget about us? So I didn't know, and that definitely caught me by surprise. Then the second time was, I'll be honest, and I haven't talked about this much, but you know, I found out well after the fact that Ahsoka was coming to live action. Well after the fact, and you know, I've been honest and open. I was devastated that I didn't get the chance to be a part of it. I did not get the chance to audition or anything for the role in any way, shape, or form. Rosario was cast well before I ever found out that Ahsoka was even coming to live action. So I was devastated, and I was kind of led to believe that nobody would care. And so, to be honest with you, I believed it, and I want to preface by saying I also learned at this moment that two emotions could exist simultaneously. That it was okay for me to be devastated that I didn't get to be a part of this character getting her own, you know, going to live action and getting her own live action show. But I was also so excited. And it was such a thing to celebrate because first and foremost, I care about this character. You know, my emotions are purely selfish compared to the importance of Ahsoka going to live action and her story continuing, because the amount of people that has touched, once again, continues to change lives and save lives. So ultimately, I celebrate any and all Ahsoka story, whether I get to be a part of it or not. But I'll be honest, I believed that this character that in many ways I feel like I birthed with George Lucas and Dave Filoni and Henry Gilroy, you know, it was like my baby went off to college and then I was never going to see her again. And so I you know, it was a bit of a devastation that I had never experienced before. And, but I quickly, so also let me preface, this is during 2020 when the world is shut down.
Absolutely. Everybody's lives were turned upside down. And then you add something like this onto it that has professional and personal ramifications. It's huge.
Yeah, you know, it was like so much was compounded. So many emotions. It was all compounded. But I will say, you know, I'm very blessed to say that my family, we were all healthy during that time. I got to be with my family and I got to heal, you know, and privately. But during that time, Clone Wars Season 7 released. And I truly believe that, you know, even though it was such a bummer that, you know, we had all these plans. We had all these series finale plans. You know, we were going to do fan screenings and, you know, there was going to be a lot of celebration and fanfare around it. And all of it got canceled because of COVID, as with so many other things. But as it was rolling out, I was like, oh my gosh, this is actually so perfect that Clone Wars is coming out during this time, that this show and Ahsoka was giving people hope during a time when we all needed it. And it was the perfect time for the final season of Clone Wars to come out. And then shortly after that, I got to go to conventions, which I hadn't really gone to many before. As you know, I had done Star Wars Celebration and I had done some conventions with her universe, but I hadn't really gotten to go to many conventions as just me, it's just Ashley for Ahsoka. And, I went to these conventions honestly thinking like, okay, I don't know how this is going to be. Like, did the fans really care?
Yeah.
That was when I realized, oh my gosh, not only do they care, Ahsoka means more to people than ever before. And I mean, not to get emotional about it, but I was in a really dark place. Mm-hmm. My confidence was completely shattered. To be honest, I had questioned leaving entertainment altogether. Like I was just kind of, I wasn't myself. And thankfully for my husband, thankfully for my family and my friends, they did pull me out of that place. But it was also the fans. The fans changed me and saved me and brought me back to myself. And I realized, I'm like, wow, my worth is not in when I play Ahsoka. Ahsoka's in me. Ahsoka lives in me forever, whether I voice her, whether I play her or not. And not only does she live in me, she lives in all of us. And this character is now in us permanently. And so, yeah, once I started going out to conventions in like 2021, I think was the first one I did. That's when it really hit me. I was like, whoa, this character is now forever in our hearts. And she's forever in mine.
Yeah. And she's bigger than any one particular performer because it's like you can, I really like what you said about two things being true at the same time, because I think fans, a lot of fans that I know we spoke to over the years, they were happy that Ahsoka was getting this huge platform of a live action series on the one hand, but on the other hand, like you, different, but like you, were devastated that it wasn't going to be you, that part of Ahsoka wasn't going to move on. So I think, in a small way, I think the fans can understand what you were experiencing in a much larger way, because we had those conflicting emotions ourselves.
Yeah. And all I ever wanted to do from the very beginning was say, it's okay. Like I'm good. We all need to celebrate this. And that's why when, it finally did come out, because also keep in mind, like so much of this was shrouded in secrecy, even from me, for the longest time. So, but once it was out and it was official, that's why it was so important to me, to say to Rosario, and we hadn't even met at that point, but to say, welcome to Team Tano, because I've always been outspoken from the very beginning that Ahsoka has always been bigger than me. Like, it was never just me. It was never just me. It was never just Dave. It was never, just one or two people. It's always been a team of people that it takes to bring this character to life, and case in point, I literally just met the Spanish voice of Ahsoka, and she's been voicing Ahsoka from the very beginning.
Wow. I never thought about that. The other countries and the other languages. How cool.
Yes. The Spanish voice of Ahsoka, technically, the other actresses who voice Ahsoka in different languages, they're technically dubbing our performance. So they call them dubs, or, they just call it the dubbing performance. But I don't view it that way, because there's some fans that never listen to my performance in English. They only listen to the dubbed performance. And so to some fans, her name is Carla, she's their Ahsoka, You know, that's who they've gotten used to as Ahsoka. I have one fan who constantly messages me and says, I like the voice of the Japanese Ahsoka better.
Wow.
Yes. Better. I'm like, okay, you know,
better.
But yes, but fair point. I mean, if they've only ever listened to Ahsoka in Japanese, well, then that's their Ahsoka. So I've never been the only Ahsoka. And so that's why it's very important to me that I call it Team Tano, because it is a team, and it's a giant team that it takes to bring this character to life.
So what was the set of circumstances that led to you meeting the Spanish Ahsoka, Carla?
So it was so exciting. San Diego Comic-Con has now branched out, and there is a San Diego Comic-Con Malaga, which is in Malaga, Spain, which is, essentially the European version of San Diego Comic-Con. And this was year one, and they were expecting around, or hoping even, for around 60,000 fans. And they had 120,000 fans for the first year. Wow. Like, it was unbelievable. And I was invited by Lucasfilm to go and promote Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy Pieces of the Past. And we did this dual panel with me and her name is Carla Torres. Oh my gosh, my accent. See, this is the Kentucky girl. Carla Torres. Oh my gosh, go to my Instagram, hear her pronounce her name. This Kentucky girl is but we got to do the panel together. And because she voiced Ahsoka in the Lego special, and obviously so did I. And it was so magical. We instantly bonded. And now we message each other on Instagram all the time. So it's definitely my dream to meet, all the other dubs. I think that would be so cool.
Oh, we got to get that happening at a Star Wars convention where you all gather. Team Tano, get Rosario in there, get everybody in there, and let's really have this Team Tano meetup. It would be amazing.
Did you and Carla discuss... did you get technical about your approach to the character and how you conduct recording sessions and how you get into the headspace of Ahsoka, things like that?
Yeah, we did talk about it a little bit, but what's interesting is, Carla admitted from the very beginning, she doesn't know a lot about Star Wars. She said, she's like, I can't say I'm the biggest Star Wars fan. And she's like, it's hard for me to remember some of these episodes that I recorded 15 years ago. And, especially even the Lego special, she's like, I recorded that a while ago, so I don't recall all the lines. And I said, don't worry, Carla. I do. Yes. Yeah, there she is. And I was like, don't worry. I do. I got you. But as we started talking about Ahsoka, she didn't need my help. She was using some of the same words about who Ahsoka is. She used the word genuine. She talked about Ahsoka's heart. She talked about her kindness. And she hadn't really ever seen any of my interviews before. Like, we literally just met. And, we shared the same heart and spirit. Like, she knows who Ahsoka is. She embodies Ahsoka. So yeah, it was just, it was kind of fun when she was talking about who Ahsoka is. I was like, yes, that is exactly it. That's what I say too. And so it was just really cool. And it was really cool to see how much she cares about this character and how seriously she takes it.
Something occurred to me as you were talking, and I think about how fun it is to see you and Matt Lanter and James Arnold Taylor doing these convention appearances together. You're you're rock stars when you go to these things, and you just have lines of people wanting to meet you. And I'm saying this with all total sincerity. You guys in the Clone Wars, and I'll include Dave and Joel Aaron, everybody that worked on that series, and Gilroy, you guys really rebuilt the brand with that show and your characterizations. You really did.
Yes.
You really did. Because coming out of the prequel era, it was a little lukewarm. They kind of went out with a whimper. People were a lot of fans were disappointed about this wasn't exactly what I wanted from seeing these younger versions of these characters. And then, bam, here comes Clone Wars. And all of a sudden, fantasies of seeing Obi-Wan and Anakin as friends and swashbuckling adventures and all of this came true. And my God, it came out in a cartoon, an animated series. But it did, I think, more than what you guys probably realize for the brand at large.
Well, thank you. I mean, thank you for saying that. And thank you for noticing. We also realize that now. First and foremost, the credit goes to George Lucas. He was so passionate about this show, and he cared so much about it. He was very hands-on. We didn't always have the privilege of working directly with him because he was in San Francisco and we recorded in LA. But we did get to see him, whenever we did marketing and press events, and we would always get notes, where Dave would say, well, George wants it more this way, or George wants it more that way. So we were very aware that he was listening and watching to our performances constantly. He just, there's nobody like him. The fact that he said, I'm going to make this series and I'm going to pay for it up front out of my own pocket. We made 2 full seasons before we ever had a network. And he just said, I'm going to make it and I'll just find somebody to buy it. And so, he, obviously partnered with Warner Brothers and Cartoon Network. And, but he just said, I'm going to keep making this show because I love it. And
he wanted to watch it. He wanted to make it and watch it. Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. Mm-hmm.
Yes. But think about it. I've been talking about this a lot recently because I've noticed it. Now, when I go out to conventions, we get the kids who are now adults. Yep. And they over and over and over and over again, we hear, you are my childhood. You are my childhood. You are my night. You are my Saturday morning. And, I feel so privileged to hear that. But, Clone Wars did introduce a whole new generation to Star Wars. And had George Lucas not done what he did, had he not said, hey, I don't care. I'm going to keep making this and I'm going to keep paying for it. I don't think the series ever would have lasted that long because networks just don't allow that anymore. I mean, the most you're ever going to nowadays is 4 seasons. Like that's the most, most series, if you're lucky, you get 2 seasons. And, I also say, I think a problem that we're currently living in with series, because I hear this a lot with Clone Wars, is our series spanned literally a kid's entire childhood. But it was appointment television, and it was tied to core memories. So it wasn't even just about our show. It was more, the stories I'm hearing are, this was my family tradition. We would get pizza and I would watch this on Friday nights with my mom and dad. Or I couldn't wait to wake up on Saturday morning and watch Clone Wars with siblings and eat cereal. And or Clone Wars was there for me when I was graduating from high school. Our show is tied to core life memories. Now, fast forward to today, yes, I'll be the first to say streaming can be awesome, and it's so convenient, and I love it nothing more when I get to binge a show that I love. But when you binge a show, you're really into it for that, let's say, weekend or 2 weeks.
Right.
But then you're done. Then you're moving on.
It all becomes so disposable. You just, you throw it away. What's the next thing? With a show like Clone Wars, not only was it 7 seasons, but the seasons averaged out to about 20 plus episodes a season. We really were able to sink our teeth into not only the entire series, but each individual season. It became part of our lives and our lifestyles and things we would share with our children. In my house, it was Taco Bell on Friday nights in Clone Wars. It was a real big deal, the Taco Bell.
Yeah.
But that's an unfortunate thing that has happened as consumer habits and streaming has evolved. It's unfortunate because it doesn't become such a part of our weekly lifestyle anymore.
No, it's not, and especially when it comes to families or even introducing the next generation to Star Wars, we're missing that. And I hope we get that back, because I'm not hearing the same things. I'm not seeing the same habits, that we had the luxury of having with Clone Wars. I know times have changed, and there's also some positive things, but little things like Clone Wars was always in the birthday party aisle. And I always said, your show makes it if you're in the birthday party aisle.
Yes.
Because think about it. Kids, oftentimes you only had a choice based upon what was in the birthday party aisle. And Clone Wars was always there, which meant there was always Clone Wars birthday parties, which meant the entire class, all of the kids came together and they had these Star Wars birthday parties. We don't have that anymore. It's not in the birthday party aisle.
Oh, the other one, Ashley? There's the birthday party, and then there's the Valentine's. Remember the boxes of Valentine's cards? That was always a big deal with Clone Wars.
Guys, you're missing the most important thing. The Play-Doh. There was Ahsoka Play-Doh. I mean, come on. You have to have, if you want to connect with kids, forget Lego. It's Play-Doh. I'm telling you. I'm going to shout this from the mountaintops. Bring back the Play-Doh. Hashtag Play-Doh lives. Hashtag Ahsoka Play-Doh lives.
I had to give y'all the shout out for that because I'm like, no, that originated, Ahsoka Lives originated right here on Rebel Force Radio.
That's right.
Yeah, look at that. Look at that Star Wars Play-Doh.
Clone Wars Play-Doh.
Look at
Create
that.
Anakin and defeat the battle droids. Yeah. Well, that was really awesome when you reminded everybody, where that came from. That meant a lot to us. It really did. So thank you for reminding folks because, we had put, with our Clone Wars after shows and our roundtables over the years, we just put so much, invested a lot of ourselves and our listeners into that show and into the character. And
you have no idea how much Taco Bell I had to eat.
Yeah, right. It was like they were really taking away something really, really important to all of us. And so, yeah. Well, that's amazing. Now, we do want to kind of take a look at the future because you have said that you said before that you'd like to see maybe an animated Ahsoka film. And have you given much thought as to, is there a particular era or theme or story that you just feel like, wow, this would be really, really great to tell in an animated film?
Oh, goodness. Well, I don't want to get myself in trouble.
Well, we're just speculating, yeah.
That was not, I can tell you, I am not hiding anything. You know,
that wasn't meant to be a gotcha question. I swear, it was just curious.
No,
you know,
I know. You know, Filoni promised me I'd always be the voice of Ahsoka in animation, but I am not. The only thing I have to report is that I get to voice Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy. So when I talked about the Ahsoka movie, that was just me dreaming. You know,
sure.
If there was an Ahsoka movie. But when it comes to storylines, I have learned from the past that even though it can be my own just fan canon, I've calls from Dave Filoni in the past where he was like, don't talk about that because one day I might want to do that. And so I'm gonna leave that to him. But I will say that, you know, there's so much left that's untapped. I mean, even between Clone Wars and Rebels, it's like 15 years. And we've barely even scratched the surface. You know, we've had the Ahsoka novel and we've had Tales of the Jedi, but that's it. So, you know, I'm really hopeful that we can explore that time period because obviously a lot happens, you know, from where we leave her in Tales of the Jedi and where we pick up in Star Wars Rebels. So I'd love to explore that time period, you know, what that storyline is. I'm not even going to begin to speculate. You know, also I think we could learn more about Ahsoka before, you know, she meets up with Anakin, you know, explore more of Plo Koon, you know, bringing us like the relationship between Plo Koon and Ahsoka. So I think there's a lot there. And I really, truly hope we get to explore it more. And yes, I will say selfishly, I hope we get to explore more of it in animation at some point. So,
well, you know, with that Darth Maul series coming out, you never know. You know, that guy he's like a bad penny. He just keeps turning up all the time. can't shake Darth Maul. And I'm hoping that Darth Maul can't shake Ahsoka Tano either.
You know, me too.
Sure.
Me too. I can say I do not know. I'm telling you the truth. Do not know if we will see Ahsoka in that series. But one can dream. One can definitely dream. Would be, you know, as a fan myself, I think, you know, we got to see them again. We got to see them again. So we'll see. But that's purely me just hoping as a fan. And I have no knowledge.
Well, it seems like it would be a perfect fit for Disney Plus. You know, the emphasis has always been on the Star Wars live action series, and they've only put out, you know, a very limited amount of animated series in comparison. It seems like now the trend is shifting to where the live action is going to be going back into movie theaters and feature films. So that leaves this whole platform wide open and available, looking for fresh Star Wars content. And I think the idea of standalone Clone Wars era films, feature films, fully animated, would be a godsend to not only the platform and the bean counters at Disney, but to the fan base. I think the fan base would wrap their arms around it, and it could be a great outlet for quality Ahsoka storytelling in the future. So we're putting that out there. You know, yes. I know you said you didn't want to speculate, but we're putting that out there. It's important. You were going to manifest this damn thing. And when we do, me and Swank want to be invited to recording sessions because we made it happen. Well, us, the three of us.
That's right.
You know, I believe in the power of manifestation. So
yes.
I have no problem dreaming and throwing it out there.
Well, I believe in the power of karma as well. And I think that good karma gets rewarded. And Ashley Eckstein, you certainly have put out a ton of good karma throughout your entire career. And I expect that's going to continue. You've really developed Ahsoka into something beyond a character that you simply voice, an animated character that you simply voice. And I really attribute a lot of the power of Ahsoka to you.
Wow. Thank you. I over and over and over and over again, Dave would always say in the studio, the Jedi way is to be selfless. And I always remind myself of that, is, you know, and Ahsoka is selfless. So I just, if fans only knew the lengths that I go to and how much I care to do what is right for fandom, to do what is right for Star Wars fans. It's constantly on my mind. It's constantly on my mind, and it's not about me. It's truly not about me. It is about this franchise and this fan base and this fandom, and it's doing what's right for this story. And so I genuinely, it is, you know, I said it Star Wars Celebration, but, you know, you're stuck with me, Star Wars fans. Like, I consider that my job, you know. For the longest time, Clone Wars was this thing that was off to the side. But now Clone Wars is a legitimate part of the Star Wars.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Oh, yes,
canon.
it is. Yep.
And
it's its own era. It's its own era in terms of, not just in terms of canon, obviously, but in terms of fandom. People identify their Star Wars as Clone Wars. That's my Star Wars.
I realize that. And that's why it's like, I will do, as long as I am living, I will do whatever is possible to continue to carry this franchise forward.
And you have a huge schedule. I know I follow you on Instagram at Ashley Eckstein, and I love to see where you and oftentimes you got Matt and Jat there with you and doing things. So what's if people are like, I love this girl's vibe, I really want to go see, I'm a big fan, I want to see her at a show. What's the best way to find out where you're going to be? Because you're traveling a lot. You know,
Instagram is the best place. Or, you know, the conventions. Check out the local conventions in your area. I do a lot with Fan Expo. I do a lot with GalaxyCon. I'm to GalaxyCon St. Louis, GalaxyCon Milwaukee, and Columbus. I'll be in Fan Expo San Francisco for the rest of this year, and then I'll be going out next year. So yeah, I mean, we love it. We genuinely love it. You know, people ask me all the time, what's my favorite part about being the voice of Ahsoka? And it truly is the fact that I get to meet fans, Star Wars fans all over the world. Yeah. I mean, what a privilege. And so, you know, I genuinely am so grateful that I get to do this. And so, so I will be going out more next year. I'm excited. I've literally been working for over 6 years on a new audio drama for Disney.
Oh, wow.
It is not. It's a completely new franchise. I'm co-creator, executive producer, and voice of the lead character, and our you know, kind of. Well, he's also an executive producer, but kind of like story supervisor is Henry Gilroy.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
So I've reunited with Henry Gilroy, and you're going to hear some other familiar voices.
Oh, yeah?
Yep.
Some tells me that Ashley doesn't forget who her friends are, huh?
No.
Do we have a target date for this? Do we know when it's going to and what is it? Is this like, how can you just, is this fantasy? Is this sci-fi? Is this how would you describe this?
Yes, it's definitely sci-fi fantasy. So in audio drama, it's going to be released like episodes of a podcast, but it's fiction. So like you all have done at Star Wars Celebration, how you've done audio dramas live on stage. We're going to be doing this, we're starting with season 1 and we're going to have several episodes, and it's a completely new franchise, a completely new world. My co-creator, his name is Jeff Gomez. He helped build the world of Magic the Gathering.
Wow.
He worked. Yeah, he's one of the first, part of the original team that really helped expand the world of Magic the Gathering. He also worked with Disney to build out the world of Pirates of the Caribbean and Avatar and Tinkerbell, and he's known for creating worlds. And so this was really his story that he brought me on, and he was so kind to even change some things to adapt it for me. And like I said, we've been working together on this for actually over 6 years now, about 6.5 years. And so it's definitely been a test of patience, but it's so cool. We are going to be using sound and music. It's like an old radio drama. It's going to be fully cast, fully scored. We're going to be using sound and music in ways that, you're going to feel it. It's going to be immersive and it's going to be amazing. So I'm so proud of it. We're working on it so hard right now. And so hopefully end of next year, but we'll be announcing more as soon as we can. But I've been working hard behind the scenes for a very long time now.
I'm sure you have. You're very hard worker.
It's such a great medium, the audio medium. It's fantastic, and I think there's a whole generation that is going to embrace this sort of thing because all of our eyes are a little tired of staring at these screens. So put some headphones on and go to a different world.
You're into podcasting too now. If you want to talk about audio entertainment, you've lowered yourself to the level of people like myself and Jason Swank, and you became a podcaster. What are you thinking? But yeah, you have a great new podcast called Hype Friend. What can you tell us about it?
Oh my goodness. Well, first and foremost, are you kidding me? Y'all have been up on a platform for me for a very, very long time. I will remind you, every time we chat, you were my first Star Wars interview ever, and you've been kind to me ever since. You are two of my, greatest friends in this fandom, and I'm just so grateful for just your friendship and your loyalty. So no, it is a privilege to have a podcast and to even be in the same sentence as the two of you are legends in this podcast world. This stemmed from a place. So that picture, that's my friend Michael James Scott. He's the genie in Aladdin on Broadway. He's actually the longest running genie in the history of the show. He's done over 4,000 performances, and he's one of Broadway's brightest stars. But what a lot of people might not realize is that we went to high school together. We're literally, we're childhood friends. I met Michael. I met him in 1996, and we've been friends ever since. But, thanks to the wonderful world of Disney, it brought us back together, to work together. And we just had so much fun. We were like, but we want to work together more. How do we do this? And his husband, Jeremy Merrifield, who is also a director and producer, he said, well, why don't you two do a podcast? Because then you can work together. And, we're both very busy. He obviously is on Broadway where you do 8 shows a week. And so we realized it was going to...
how does he have time to do a podcast with that schedule?
We're finding every nook and cranny in the schedule to record it. But we both said, if we're going to do this, we want to help people. We don't want to just talk about, the Hollywood gossip. We really want to help people. And as you know, I've been a huge advocate for mental health for the past several years. I post every Monday for Mental Health Monday. I have since 2018. And I had started using the term hype friend a while ago. I actually started using it back in, I think, like 2022, because I noticed the shift after COVID. And I noticed how lonely people were. In fact, in 2023, the U.S. Surgeon General released a report that we are experiencing a loneliness epidemic. And, I really know with my nieces and nephews, and they were, unfortunately, the age that was just greatly affected by COVID. They were in high school, they were in college, and I really saw them retreat. I saw them lose all of their friends, and it was so sad to watch. And so, as a proud aunt, I just got to the point where I was like, enough is enough. Like, if I'm going to do a podcast, we're going to do it about friendship. And, I'm not a clinician. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a therapist, but I'm a voice. And Michael's a voice. Michael kind of represents just pure joy in human form. And I said, we can't provide people clinical help, but it's proven that just having one friend, one good friend, one hype friend, that can change your life. And so I said to Michael, I said, what if we just do a podcast about friendship and how to make friends, how to be friends, how to keep friends, how to foster friendship, how to connect in person again, and not just for kids, but even for adults, because I think in many ways we've forgotten how to do that too. And, I called him up one day and I said, is it too big of a statement to say that we want to start a friendship revolution, one hype friend at a time? Because if we can get people to get out there and form friendships, we will impact this loneliness epidemic. We will change the statistics. And so that's our mission. We're doing a podcast about friendship, and hopefully we can make the world a little less lonely.
Well, I have definitely heard this, especially in the last 4 or 5 years, that one of the number one drivers of podcast listenership is loneliness. And it is it's an absolute truth. Jimmy Mack has spent his whole professional life in radio, and there is something about the audio medium that people find comforting, and it is like having a friend. And we hear that from listeners all the time, that it's like, you guys, it's just like me hanging out with my buddies talking Star Wars. So these types of shows can really do make a difference in people's lives just by being a steady voice in their ear at times when they have no one else.
Absolutely. And I just have to hype the two of you up. You have done that for people. You have helped more people than you will ever know. And I hear it. People come up to me at conventions all the time and they say, we listen to you on Rebel Force Radio and we love that show. We love Jimmy Mack and Jason. And, as we've talked about already multiple times tonight, Star Wars is a part of you. It's a part of your soul. It's a part of your identity. And the fact that you have just weekly for years and years and years now brought that hope to people, because Star Wars is hope. Mm-hmm. And you continue to bring that hope despite, the ups and the downs. You are doing so much good with this. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you. Well, with that, Ashley, you've been so generous.
Love you so much. You're so sweet.
And you're always so generous with your time. But we know you got lots of things going on. Who knows? Maybe you got to record another podcast or something. But please give our best to your husband, David. And what a huge fan Jimmy Mack is of the great David Eckstein. Hall
of course,
Famer,
I just saw a photo of you two doing the whole Field of Dreams thing in a cornfield. And he was, I don't know if it was a new photo or what, but it just came across my desk. You were standing next to him and you were in a cornfield and he was head to toe in his Cardinals gear. Was that a new photo or what's up with that?
Yeah, that was just 3 weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
So David now does occasionally does St. Louis Cardinals fantasy camp, where you can go be a Cardinal for the week and live out your baseball dreams. And David is one of the managers on one of the teams for fantasy camp, and this particular camp was at the Field of Dreams. Like literally, they were playing all of their games on the Field of Dreams. It was so cool. Wow. That was one of the coolest places I've ever been to. They've kept up with it. The field, the house, everything is pristine. It was just magical. So highly, highly, highly recommend, if you're a fan of the movie, go to Dyersville, Iowa, and go to the Field of Dreams. It is totally worth it.
Well, my White Sox played there it was 4 or 5 years ago now, and I thought it was going to become an annual thing where they would have Major League Baseball games there. I don't know if that tradition continued beyond a couple of years at this point, but...
So it is, to my knowledge, it is going to become a tradition again. There is a whole group kind of led by Frank Thomas,
Frank Thomas, also
baseball player who David played with in Toronto. They are building another field kind of right behind it. You can see it in the background, and it's actually going to have a stadium attached, and they will be playing games there. So not just Major League games, but tournaments from all over. It's really a beautiful thing how they continue to honor the game of baseball, and it was just so cool. I actually was there on my 44th birthday. I got to spend my birthday on the Field of Dreams, so that was really cool.
Well, happy birthday! 3 weeks ago.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, that is cool. Our own Tyler Page went to go see the White Sox play there a few years ago, and so hopefully fans will get more opportunities to go out there. And if not, sign up for the fantasy camp with David. Hopefully he'll do that again and go play on the Field of Dreams with the MVP of the 2006 World Series.
Yeah, if you're a baseball fan, those fantasy camps are amazing. They really, really are. It got me thinking. I mean, I know there was the Halcyon, there was the Star Cruiser that was at Disney that sadly is no longer. I could do a whole dissertation about that. I was very fortunate to get to go on it twice, and there were some things that they should change if they were to do it again. There were some things that went wrong, but there was so much that went right. And I could, like I said, I could go on and on and on for another time. But there was something magical with fantasy camp, especially this one that I was watching. I'm like, man, how do we do the Star Wars
fantasy camp?
Yeah.
Now you're talking. You're talking. Yeah. Ashley, if you crack that nut, you might be onto something.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. That is true. That is true. But we always know you have something cooking, and you're extremely creative and driven and really devoted to keeping the spirit of Ahsoka alive and well amongst fandom and beyond. So I just want to say best of luck to you with your future in Star Wars and podcasting and everything else you got going on. You're a one-woman wrecking crew, I think, and it's just been really awesome to watch you do your thing for the last couple of decades now, and you're kicking butt along the way. So keep it up, Ashley.
Thank you so much. But, you almost sound like you're saying goodbye to me and you're not getting rid of me yet. You're stuck with me, Sky Guys.
That's it. I love it. Ashley, you're the best. Thank you so much. And have a great rest of your night.
Thank you. And tell your families hello.
Will do.
Will do. They were very excited to hear that I was talking to Ashley. And you certainly have made an impact on my boys. You've seen them grow up. Michael still Michael still thinks about the time you gave him a pep talk about doing the high school musicals that he was involved in, South Pacific and Jesus Christ Superstar. You gave him a pep talk that fueled him through his junior and senior years. So I want to thank you for that.
Oh my gosh, that just made my night. That's all.
Yeah, you guys were very simpatico with each other during that conversation. I kind of have had to step aside as someone who was not ever in a high school musical at all in my life, but I love the energy of it.
Should have called me.
And it's just,
I can help you out.
Well, of course, Jason is the king of the high school musical. What am I talking about?
One of these times, Ashley, you and I will talk. I'd love to talk with your co-host on Hype Friend as well, who I did see as the genie on Broadway, and I also saw him in Something Rotten as well. So I was looking at his credits, and I'm like, oh, yeah, okay. Yeah. So.
Hi. Well, yes.
We'll talk theater sometime.
Yes. I'm going to somehow pull him into this world. It hopefully it'll be through my audio drama. And, everyone can meet him.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Thank you again. Really appreciate it. Take care.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Ash.
Rebel Force Radio.
All right, that's going to wrap it up for this week here on Rebel Force Radio. Huge. The biggest thanks to the great Ashley Eckstein for joining us. What a treat it is to talk to her. She is one of the most authentic and delightful people you could possibly know. And the crowds that continue to show up for her at event after event after event prove it. And she's one in a million and one of a kind. And we're really grateful for her friendship and her continuing contributions to the Star Wars franchise. So huge thanks to her. Also, thanks to all of you for tuning in and listening or watching Rebel Force Radio. And by watching, I mean the members of Patreon. That's how you can watch the weekly full show video. Not only that, but you can get exclusive audio podcasts with video accompaniment that you can't get anywhere else. You can't just subscribe via Spotify or Apple Podcasts. You have to become a supporter of Rebel Force Radio on Patreon. Go to patreon.com/Rebel Force Radio. Check out all the details there. You can also watch free videos anytime you want on YouTube. There's a whole catalog going back many, many years over on YouTube. Just search for Rebel Force Radio or go to youtube.com/Rebel Force Radio. The official website for all things and everything RFR, aptly called rebelforceradio.com. You can follow us on Facebook, on X, on Instagram. That's the best way to keep up with what's going on in the world of RFR. So we thank you very much for listening. We thank you very much for subscribing to the podcast. Those of you that subscribe or follow or whatever your podcatcher of choice allows you to do. And if it allows you to leave a review of this very show, we would love to hear from you. We just have one small, simple rule, please.
Make them good.
That'll do it. We will see you next week for more Rebel Force Radio. You know when there is Star Wars news breaking. With all these projects up in the air, there's always something popping up. We'll be here to cover it for you and tell you what it all means. Free of charge, too. We'll even tell you what to think about it. That'll do it. We'll see you next time for Rebel Force Radio. I'm Jason.
I'm Jimmy Mack.
And remember,
the Force will be with you, always.
Sky Guy.
Yeah.
You're stuck with me, Sky Guys.